Yeah. Welcome. Today is the first meeting. As I mentioned in the email, we are going to overall review the expectations and the contract and all the instructions for how this is going to be. Then any questions you may have, this is the time to clarify. Then we'll take a little break right around 1 hour. Then the second hour, we'll get into the practice of the answer. We may get through the first part sooner, then we get more practice time.
Okay.
Also, in our consultation meetings, usually we start with a mindfulness practice. I can guide it, but today, since this is the first time we're actually seeing each other and us three meeting, so we have an option. I want to offer an option here. Do we want to have some self-introduction before going into mindfulness? Or we go into mindfulness, just notice whatever it is, our experience, without kind of getting to know each other. So either way, any preferences, or check in with your system.
I prefer to do meditation first. Yeah.
What about you, Jinqing?
Yeah, I am fine either way, but I do find it helpful to have some self-introduction, some point. It could be after the meditation. Sorry, I'm probably gonna
Okay.
move my laptop a little bit over here too.
I'll let you take care of what you need to take care.
It's been a while. I get up. I start my day with 8 o'clock, so I'm still kind of getting used to it. Yes, I'm not. I think I share with in the mirror. I'm not a morning person, so it's like it's a little bit like a adjustment.
For some of our trainings, some trainers or assistants who are on the West Coast, they have to get up like at 4, 5.
Oh.
But this is early.
I admire them for being able to do that.
All right. Without further ado, I'm going to just guide us with a mindful noticing. Might not even call it a meditation. I have a bowl here. I'll ring the bell as we start and ring the bell when we come back. So there's no question when to start, when to end. I invite you to now notice, where's your attention at in this moment? Where does it go first? Or maybe your attention is spread on different things. Our attention has to have somewhere to rest on as long as we are awake. It could be on something outside of us. Some noise in the room, my voice. Could be in relationship with this physical space you're in, like sensations of sitting in the chair, so being supported by the chair, or your contact with the clothing, or it could be something inside us. Our body sends lots of information to our brain in the forms of body sensations. And we always have our thoughts and feelings going on. So that's something inside us our attention can rest on or being called to. Now I would like to invite you to notice how or what tells you that you are here. Whether some information from the outside, your body, interact in relationship with the space, or something from inside your body. What tells you that you are here and now? Just notice. I would like also to invite you to notice in whatever way you might not be fully here and now. Whether it's something in the past, whether it's something in the future, any way you are not in this moment, in this physical space. Just notice. Next, I invite you to open your eyes and direct your attention to the screen of this virtual space we are in together. How is it like? How does it feel to be in this virtual space? What do you notice first? What thoughts or feelings arise as you join us, this three-person group in this virtual space? Is there something you feel feels like a pattern when you join a new group or arrive in a new space? Or is there anything that's new or different from previous experiences on all the other Zoom meetings? Just notice your experience and notice what tells you that this feels familiar or this is new. And then with that, I invite you to come back to our meeting. And we'll check in and do our introduction. Does any of you want to go first? How was your experience?
Actually, before this consultation meeting, I was a little bit nervous because it's the first time I do this kind of consultation practice. And but now after you mentioned that we can do mindfulness before we start, I feel really relaxed because I noticed that, oh, it's an EMDR consultation. It's not a lab meeting. Much better than that. So yeah, I just feel much better. Like I remember even when we were in basic training, always like notice that or something. It is really important. Yeah, feel relaxed. Be where you are. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Can you also introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Yihan, and I am currently a PhD student in University of Manitoba in Canada. But my major is pharmacy, actually not psychology. But my master degree is in applied psychology, and I think my motivation of this EMDR learning is more like to treat myself, and if I can learn that, I can treat others. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for also why you are in this consultation, for sharing that.
Yeah.
Qing.
Yeah. So just give me a second. I'm actually
I can go.
I'm gonna be done with
Okay.
yeah, thank
I
you. Yeah,
can
I'm
go
gonna be
first.
done with making my changes very soon. Sorry about that. That's why I'm a little bit like moving is because I'm
Okay.
in the middle of making my team.
This virtual space allows us to be able to have some flexibility, right?
Yeah.
I shared some nervous feeling before I hopped on, and I intended to spare a little time before I open the Zoom meeting to settle and just feel settled. Of course, I didn't have long enough. I wanted, and figuring out what I need to make sure doing checked off for the first meeting kind of stirred up my nervousness again. So as I was noticing in the mindfulness, I felt also more settled. Yeah. Whatever happens is going to be fine. Mistakes are required, mandatory in this process, including me as the consultant to make mistakes and learn from my mistakes. So also something before I got on, had a thought, this group, I had this anticipation. I looked forward to see all three Asian faces in the meeting. It never happened in a professional meeting, not in my career in the US. So I noticed that anticipation when I saw both of you are here. That brought a smile and just feels good. And of course, Wan Jingqing's cat made a little experience. Oh, yeah, just couldn't hold back my smile anymore. Like, my name's Liz. I I went through my PTI. Okay, backtrack. I'm a clinical social worker in the state of Michigan. I got my master's degree from University of Michigan, then worked in community mental health for a few years, got into private practice the year before, 2021. So my practice right now is private practice, working with kids, young adults, and parents, mostly family focused, but trauma healing. I went through my basic training in 2019. Got through the certification in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. That was the the best and the worst. But also, yeah, really great personal transformation, professional growth. Then I came back to join the PTI team last year, became an assistant. I am right now a consultant in training. This means that I will get my approved consultant status in the middle of our 10 months. So part of your will be, it's going to 10 months to all be with me, but part of that is we would see IT consultant in training list, and I'll submit my application to get it approved, and part of it. That's also what required of your certification. I believe 5 hours of your consultation will come from an approved consultant. So that's the process, and I want to let you know this is also a learning experience for me. There's that. I'll stop here.
Well, first I want to thank you for being flexible and share, but for both of you, share your experience doing the mindfulness, and also just hearing more about you, both of you. And so I'm doing this morning. I just I have a lot of sounds earlier in my house because I got up a little bit later today than I anticipated because I had some trouble sleeping last night. So my alarm was sound basically because I have alarm was on second floor, and I had this have some voice, I have some like noise from the kitchen. So I think that's what was what I noticed a lot while we were doing the mindfulness, which is also why I muted myself for a moment, because I was worried about the background noise in my environment was too distracting. But I also appreciate it just to have do a mindfulness meditation really helped me to feel more grounded. And it's a virtual space. I definitely have some little bit anxiety about not knowing what to expect. And I have done quite a bit of experiential training for in the past, and so it's always all very good experience, but I think every time I go into a new environment is always a little bit like not sure what to expect. And I think that's kind of mixed of excitement and also nervousness. I actually shared Liz your excitement about working with a group relation. I assume women, maybe not. But I, again, I might make an assumption here. But yeah, it is very rare. And which is I was pretty excited. I'm pretty excited. And I'm trying to think of what else I noticed. I do notice yeah, I noticed some of that. I noticed some background sounds, and also I also noticed some tension in my body, and I think partly because I had a really this week has been pretty busy for me work wise, and so I think when I slow down, I notice more of the muscle tension that's building up from stress, and I also found myself thinking about what I need to do for the rest of the day. I was thinking, well, should I cancel an appointment I have later? But anyway, I think when we're talking about how, why I'm sort of why am I here when I'm somewhere else. And I think I'm more thinking about what I need to do for the rest of the day, which is probably just because of just feel a little bit busy and feel a little bit rushed. And as far as me, and sorry, I was probably this. I'm a licensed psychologist in the state of Oregon. I'm in Eugene, Oregon, it's on the East Coast. And I and actually I'm also in private practice currently as well. I actually started last year, so it hasn't been a year for me for private practice. I started October last year. So part of I think of what I'm trying to figure out is just doing private practice and figure out how it's different. And before I go into full-time private practice, I worked at a university counseling center for a couple of years. And I primarily working with adults, individual therapy with adults. I do have a lot of my clients are I would say have a complex trauma background. Either a lot of them do have a trauma, but also pretty complex trauma. Which is that's one of my interests. It's also one of the reasons I'm seeking out more training in trauma-informed treatment. And trying to think of what else. I did my PTI basic training actually last year. And it is it's actually pretty good experience. I mean, it's all virtual, which is, that's kind of how it is over the past couple of years during the pandemic. And it's very experiential. But it's also pretty interesting how to experience EMDR from the client's perspective. And I was surprised how helpful it was for me personally when we did some of the sort of practice, even though it wasn't like a therapy session, but it was kind of some component to that. I'm seeking certification partly because I want to get more training on EMDR, and I also think I do have some clients either want to do EMDR at some point, or I think can benefit from EMDR treatment at some point. So it's also I also appreciate having a space that can also, can practice, but also can talk about maybe some cases when it's relevant topic when it come up.
Yes, we will, Pat. As my second email mentioned, you can bring case studies or your case from clients. All right. Now that we have met each other officially. So is it okay we just go into the contract we signed, use that as a guideline, we'll go over. And if you have any questions, the contract, then my second email with, not second, when I don't know how many emails I send, but the second long email with a lot of information. We'll go over that. I'm going to share my screen. Share screen, pull it up. Okay. Can you see it? Do you want me to make it a little bigger? Okay, good. I love the thumbs up. So even though you and I, we are just doing the consultation meetings, 10 months, 10 meetings, 2 hour each for 10 months. But this is, you're committing to the whole package. We're not giving any partial credits. The package including the advanced training online and reading Francine's book. What else included? Yes, I believe it. And demonstrating practicing EMDR. So PTI, I represent PTI. I agree to provide PTI to provide following. But in any case, if I cannot complete the 10 months, 10 meetings, PTI will step in and provide another consultant. So 10 meetings, 2 hours each, 2 hours each. So the 20 hours, 10 of them will count as your individual, 10 will count as a group of 2. We structure this way because we want the groups of too many people, you don't get enough practice. Group of 2, you get to have learn from each other and also get all the time you need. Then the 12-hour advanced training. Have you started? Many layers of EMDR.
I have not, to be honest. But I do hopes I do plan to start on it soon. Yeah, I just
as soon as you can. It'll be very helpful throughout our consultation program process. Also, if there's any demo videos from the basic training you haven't reviewed, it's great material. The more you watch other people doing, and the more it's going to sink in and become part of you. And by the end of all 10 meetings, I will write a recommendation letter to EMDR recommending you to be certified. But by the end of our second meeting, that's the fourth hour, if that's by next month, if I have significant concerns of any one of you completing the full requirement, I will let you know. I don't want to get into too much, then having to express it. And our goal is to assist you, support you, whatever way. This is going to be it. I'm not going to lie. This is going to be a journey, not so easy journey or even hard journey. But our role, PTI and my role, is to support you whatever we can. But for whatever reason, if it might take you longer to get to the proficiency, competency for me to recommend, I will let you know as soon as I can. Then consultation is not supervision. If you bring client cases, we don't need any identifying information. And I'll give you direct, clear feedback based on the competencies. One of the attachment is the PTI competencies for EMDR. That's a good reference to go back to throughout this process. And our meetings video will be sent to Deb. I will get feedback from Deb. Any feedback from her will be incorporated in our process. This is our meeting schedule. You all showed up, so You got that. In any, if something life happens, maybe I will be traveling or something, interferes of our scheduled meetings, let the group know as soon as you realize there is a conflict. And we'll try to reschedule, find a time that works for all three of us, move to a different Friday. But if we can't figure out an alternative time for that month, the person with the conflict, I will still go ahead and meet with the other person, but the person who has a conflict, if it's one of you, then we'll have to figure out a separate time to meet with me and pay $100 an hour for 2 hours directly. Is that clear and fair? Say we practice the SAFE model, safety and attachment focus. So this is all going to be the principles of PTI and SAFE model will be practiced throughout this process. Safety, compassion, curiosity, healthy boundaries. I hope this, any point you feel like it's something is not working for you, reach out. We want to support you. We want to figure out what is what we can do to support you throughout this challenging experience. And you are agreeing to demonstrate competencies in all phases. So, any thoughts? Yiheng asked that question. Jinqing, what are your thoughts about demonstrating competency? What, are you okay with working with each other?
Yeah, I just realized I missed the email you sent out earlier. Sorry about that. And yeah, I'm fine with demonstrating with one another. It's also easier. I don't yeah, with the clients, I don't have consent to recording. Some of them may be open to, but I don't know. Yeah, also because private practice is I just don't have equipment to record my sessions right at this point. Convenient way with my in-person sessions. So I think we're fine for us to being a practice partners.
Okay, and then I'll leave you two to get the consent from each other.
Yeah. So how does it work for? Do we need to do something formal or just talk about it, or just how does it work in terms of?
I'm out of that.
Okay.
I made it very clear. Whoever you are recording, you get the consent.
Okay.
So healthy boundaries, right? I can't do it for you, and it's between you two.
Okay.
What? Yeah, I also practiced with my partner throughout the consultation program. It was also a huge personal transformation on top of the professional learning. So I think it will be really great. Then you're responsible for observing all clinical ethical guidelines. Read the book. If you haven't purchased, get it now today. Even though it's just the standard protocol, EMDR protocol, but it's a comprehensive introduction. And with that, you can bring questions. How is the safe model and protocol following the same principles or following to how is it different? What makes the safe model different? We believe it's better. And the training again online, come to each session on time. no driving during our meetings. If someone has to be, so plan ahead of time. I always say that telehealth and these video technology really makes things simpler, easier for us to avoid transportation, commute, but it also makes it easier for us to overcommit. For me, that's realizing. So we want to be fully present as much as we can for these meetings. And you can review Andrea's requirements. Any questions so far? Stop right here.
This may be a question that you will talk about later. So let me know if that's the case. I'm just curious about how a typical consultation meeting will look like.
The future?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes, we'll get to that. I can go. So today you were not you were not as required or asked to submit anything prior to this meeting. But after this meeting or by the end of this meeting, I will give you assignments. Specific assignments, what I want to see when you need to meet between now and next meeting to practice with each other. Do you all have a Zoom account?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Do you have a paid version or is it free?
Mine is paid version because I also do some.
Mine is free.
Okay, so at least you have one. Then you don't have to be limited by the 40-minute. So at least you can use one. When you meet, you can choose to meet separately 2 different times, or you meet once and take turns to practice. And the one that, as the therapist, need to record that portion, being yourself, being the therapist, practice exactly or as much as feasible, the assignment for that month. Then you get your portion uploaded to YouTube, get the transcripts, and do your reflection. As you do the transcripts, there is a form for you to reflect on the recording or the practice. So the 3 things you need to send to me 4 days before next meeting is that YouTube link of your portion of being a therapist practicing, the reflection form, and the transcript from that video. I don't have time to review the entirety of the video, but the transcript is going to be a very helpful for me to quickly get an idea of what you covered and practiced and where you are following the protocols and you went off the protocol and where do I focus on. Also, the consultation, the reflection form, you're going to highlight what you thought you did well, what you thought you would like to do differently. So those are also, so if I have the 4 days, I can review and be prepared for the next meeting. Then when you come back next meeting, we're going to start with a mindfulness and check in for that month. And then the rest of the time will be divided in 2 for one person to review the video and highlight the places you felt you did well, highlight the places you thought you had questions, or you would like to do different, or you would like feedback.
Okay.
And I might add, if I noticed something and you did not stop, can we go back to this point? You are going to take over sharing screen, reviewing the video, and pause at spots. Then we'll always take a break at 1 hour, and then the rest of the time is try to keep it equally divided between two of you.
Okay.
And some of the months, if you have a client case you would like to bring, you want to fill out the other form, case consultation form. That's similar to what you filled out in during the basic training. So we'll shorten your video review time and leave some time for the case. Any questions about the format?
I have a question. Because my license is back in China, in my future work, I will use Chinese instead of English. So is that possible to use Chinese to do that practice session?
I'm okay, but you would need to ask Jingqing.
Yeah, I'm asking both of you.
Well,
mhm.
let me.
I
don't have any problem with giving feedback, but I wonder. I need to check with EMDR if it's
Sure.
recorded in a different language.
Mhm. Or I can do the practice here in English, but I probably will have some question regarding language. Like when I trying to use those forms in Chinese context, I feel like maybe I need to translate it, and probably the language need to be fixed in some way. I probably need your help about that. Is that okay?
That's a valid point. I have received inquiries from other therapists saying they have clients. Do I have translation? I don't. At one point I tried to reach out to the EMDR Asia. I know Hong Kong has a quite robust EMDR community, but I don't know. I didn't follow through. I bet they have the translation, but I yeah
That would be helpful too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to also have some discussions in terms of translation, what would be more natural or fits the culture and the language. Um, but the I guess the ultimately for this consultation, you are not judged by the language. You're judged by how well you are able to demonstrate you understand the protocol, you can carry out the protocols and the principles with clients.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
I will double check with Deb about MGS requirement on the recording. I don't think it's it's a hard no. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I want to think about the practicing Chinese. I speak Chinese, but to be honest with you, I feel like because I speak English majority of the time at work. I have my training in psychology in English. Sometimes you feel like English is my native language when it comes to professional work or therapy in general. I would say, and so I think a part of me it is easier for me to process things in English when it comes to more like mental health related things. And so that's one thing we can talk about that. And also I think a part also is for Liz whether that's something because I know you're also recording the consultation meetings and whether that's something sort of possible, feasible from your perspective. But I'd also interested in know more about yeah, I think it would be great a conversation to have about how to translate some of the or talk about some of the concept in Chinese. Because I do bilingual. I provide bilingual service. I do have some clients where we have therapy session in Chinese, and I also kind of feel it's sort of have similar. Maybe I haven't done much EMDR with those people, but I do notice with just therapy in general, there are certain things it's very language actually can be pretty tricky. It's like there's certain things that it's very easy to, it take a lot more explanation. If we're in the context of a Chinese versus, English, there's a word that it's very easy to talk. Just one word will be fine.
Yeah.
So I think it will be great to have a conversation. I think that's another thing I'm very excited about this group. It seems like I'm hoping there will be some conversation like that.
I love that we are having this conversation right here. We are pushing for Andrea for the services
Yeah.
here in North America to be. There is Spanish translations of a lot of the EMDR resources, but I haven't found Chinese. I'm also noticing the time. Any questions? I want to take a break.
Quick question. This is a more logistic question or maybe confidential question too. So for the video we upload to YouTube, so I haven't. Honestly, I have not uploaded anything to YouTube at this point. But I wonder, is there any way for us to limit who to share to? Because I imagine we will share personal experience in the videos, and I just don't want to become like a public video everybody can see.
No.
Because I may have my client become video. I don't want to. Yeah. Anyway, I was just thinking more about that.
You will have to walk through the process on your own.
Okay.
So save plenty of time the first time you are recording after this month's meeting. But yes, there is the unlisted feature. Makes the videos are not searchable. Nobody can even search it. Only the people with direct that link can see the video.
Okay.
And your link is only going to be shared with me. Maybe you want to share with each other, but you don't have to. And I will keep it in the PTI shared folder. That's all.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
So I actually, before this consultation meeting, I already tried to record a session with my husband because I really don't have any other people can do this for me. I have a question about how long should this recorded session, and if this should be like a first time meeting, like what's your problem to be here, or just right start from the questionnaire we have in phase 1, like what
Okay.
is yeah.
So like I said, by end of each meeting, I will give you specific assignments based on what also the information I observe or I have about how well you are demonstrating one area. I might ask you go back to practice these phases, or I might move on to next phase or a different memory. So you will get specific instructions. Then the length of the video, you can treat it as a regular session, 45 to 55, whatever. That's as if you were having a client session.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
As long as you demonstrate the things I need you to demonstrate and show. If you finish within 30 minutes, close the session, that's okay.
Okay.
I might use another 5 minutes to go over the second email, and then we take a break.
Okay.
So screen share again. So this email has a lot of information. Did you get all these attachments? Do you understand what they are for? The reflection form prior to meeting is the one you need to fill out as you review your own recording, and you give me the transcripts of that recording, and together with the link to the video. That's the 3 things you are required to submit. And the 4th thing, the consultation, is if you have a client case. That's optional. And again, schedule and makeup, policy, Zoom meeting, options. So we're clear with the options. So the 3 things and the optional 4th thing to submit before the meeting. Here we are. The first meeting looks good. So the unlisted feature is what you're going to use. When you upload the video, it'll have a bunch of things for you to select what I want this video to be listed as. Any questions regarding?
So just so you help me for you to know the day. So we're meeting on Fridays. We're meeting on Friday, and then the 4 days prior will be
The
Monday.
Monday.
Okay. Okay.
If you can send it by Sunday, that's even better.
Okay.
But if you are having difficulties completing or time-wise, reach out. Reach out. We have options also, but do your best and know I'm here to support you.
Okay. I have one more question related to the more like a technical stuff. So the transcript, again, I haven't done anything with the YouTube as a YouTuber yet, I guess. So when I read instruction, my assumption is that once I follow that steps, the YouTube channel will generate the transcript automatically.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay, so I don't need to transcribe things manually. Okay.
Yeah. However, my experience being the English is my second language, and it's not that great. It's much better for native speakers, and it's also good learning experience for me to go over the transcripts again. You can manually edit it.
Okay. Yeah.
And just reminder that after you successfully uploaded the video, it might take YouTube several hours or even a day to have the transcript generated ready for you. So you want to save time or just plan that I won't have the transcript right there after I complete uploading.
Okay, that's helpful.
I probably need help from Jingqing because I can tell that probably I cannot catch all the words you said even by right now. I probably need your help to go through the transcript, whether it's right or not. I would definitely go do the manual tracking, but after that, I probably still need your help if my transcript is right on your what you said. Yeah.
Oh,
do you think it's needed?
My question, I'm curious, what is it? What's so? Let me say this: the videos don't have to be perfect.
Okay.
The transcripts don't have to be perfect.
Okay.
Mistakes are a must in order for everyone to learn.
Okay.
I'm wondering, as we next hour we're going to get into being curious about the answer.
I can see my
if
pattern here.
that's part of your answer.
Yeah.
So hold on to that. If it's a real client, even if you recorded the session, do you really have to know everything the client said? Okay, I'm not the best timekeeper, so if you could, one of you could remind me, we want to always take a break at an hour, or right before the hour mark, or right after the hour mark. If no further questions right now, let's take a, what do you say, 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Sounds
8?
good. Well, either way works for me. Well,
5
I always
minutes.
prefer longer break. I just want, but I'm also fine with the 5 minutes break. So.
Okay, 5 minutes. We'll be back 6 past the hour.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, I'll stop recording. Like, as I just named it, I'm not the best timekeeper. And sure enough, look at my watch and oh, it's already past the time.
Well, actually, I appreciate that. I find that breaks really help me to, help me to be more present when those breaks.
Maybe actually we do need 8-minute or 10-minute breaks. We learn from that.
Yep, that could be.
Yeah. So next, do you have your answer sheet, worksheet, whatever it looks, may look different from mine.
I have the one from the basic training.
Okay.
It look like this. Is that the same one or different? Okay.
The same content.
Right. Okay.
All right. Next, we're going to take turns. Practice the answer with each other. One of you is going to interview me or get my answers and predict what is overdeveloped, what's underdeveloped. And I will work with another one and then 2 of you. Any volunteer or preferred, which role? So we will do the part what you're really good at and what you underdeveloped, difficult for you to do under stress or getting close to pain. That's when our answers would jump in and be helpful. But then after we take turns, all 3 of us will come together to make some predictions. And that's the last part of the answer questionnaire. Predict what might happen. Instead of going into processing, you two, since you're working together, you might predict what you're going into processing. But for us, we can all come together and predict what might happen when we are stressed with time challenges throughout this process. That's the last thing we'll do together. Anyone wants? I can start if one of you would like to be my client.
I can be the client. I guess that's easier. Maybe not. We'll see.
Okay, then you will also be the therapist for Yiheng. Then Yiheng will interview me, be my therapist.
Would that
Okay.
be okay with Ethan? Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, what we are going to do next is going to use the answer questionnaire to understand what is overdeveloped and underdeveloped. I see them as the 2 sides of the same coin. It'll be helpful if you can think of times you were not at your best or even at your worst, stressed out
Okay.
times.
Okay. Mhm.
Whatever comes to mind, there's no right or wrong.
Okay.
What are you most proud of?
I would say I'm feeling pretty good about my ability to adapt. I don't make the most out of the situation, even when things are pretty tough.
Mm-hmm. What is difficult for you to do?
Um, I would say follow through with certain things. Kind of, yeah. I tend to, when I'm pretty stressed, I tend to be more forgetful, and I would also stay in touch with the people. I think that's also, it can be harder when I'm under stress.
What do you do when you're under stress?
I would say my first instinct is just being I don't like the word isolating, but have space for myself. Just doing something that's very mentally light, whether it's watching a short video, Korean drama, Chinese drama, whatever, just couch potato, not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, it can be good or bad, but
How do you handle extreme pressure?
um I would say I think it got me motivated. Getting motivated initially. I do find myself getting more into this kind of problem solving mindset, getting things figured out what I need to do, and try to get it done. And then usually there's kind of a crash afterwards when things are more settled, or so when there's actually maybe less pressure. Um, that's kind of pattern I notice when there's extreme pressure.
Mm-hmm. How are you with deadlines?
Um, I will say I learned and I'm trying to embrace that part of me is I do this last minute. Tend to do this last minute. And yeah.
How do you get your way or get what you want?
Uh, I mean, I guess depending on the context, work setting, try to sort of collaborate in a sense. Like I figured out what the other person want and figured out how we can come to a place that we both get something we want. And also try to figure it out what I want can be helpful to them from their perspective. I guess make a thinking that way, talk that way with that person. More personally, I think that I do some extent do the same to some extent. But I also tend to be more I think sometimes I tend to be more emotional in personal conversations like that. And yeah, so I would say negotiating, but probably more logical when it comes to professional setting, and personal that really varies depending on who I talk to.
Is it easy for you to say no?
I think also depending on the context. I think I'm getting better with professional setting saying no, because I had a lot of practice, had to do a lot of that from my last job. On a more personal run arena, again, I think depending on the sort of the relationship we have, I think the closer we are, the harder you become to say no.
Do you cry easily?
And that's a good question. I mean, I don't have trouble crying, but I don't think I cry very often.
What do you do when you are upset?
Well, I first will try to figure out what I'm upset about, because I do either sort of reflection in my own mind, sometimes journaling helps, talk to somebody I trust, just kind of talk it out. And I also find it helpful to do physical activities, running, getting to more weightlifting or strength training recently. That has been helpful. Overall, I do find physical activities, exercise really help when it comes to release some of the frustration or whatever when I'm upset. But I usually try to figure it out, start with figure out what bothered me.
Do you cry in front of others?
I think that's more rare. That's more rare.
Would you call yourself a rule follower?
I guess depending on whether I think the room is reasonable or not. I guess from that perspective, probably not. I guess I follow my own rule. Yeah. So I guess probably, well, I follow my own room, or I follow rooms when I know there's a consequence I don't want to I don't want to deal with.
Okay. How do you deal with conflict?
Yeah, again, I think it's, for most part, I would say I will try to reflect on what's going on, what's my reaction, what's the issue that caused the conflict, try to figure out where I stand, while the other person might be standing on. And then depending on my experience working with that person, figured out whether it's more helpful to approach it and talk through it, or whether it's if that just doesn't, if past experience like that turned out to be negative, and then maybe not. And then figured out what do I do with my own emotions. I do find myself tend to be more maybe emotionally explosive with people I'm super close with, family, very close friends, partner. And I think they are probably not the best version of me, to be honest, when it comes to conflict. Because I tend to be more reactive in those conversations, and yeah.
In an emergency situation, what are you likely to do?
I think my first reaction is to see whether anybody will take the lead. If somebody takes the lead, and I think that's a direction we're going is good, I will follow. If nobody takes the lead, or if I feel like the direction we're going seems like not make sense, I will try to speak up, and then maybe take more. I don't know the leadership, but I will probably speak up more and try to have more influence in the process.
Is it easy for you to ask for help?
I think it's getting easier for me, but that's something I'm still working on, to be honest.
Is it difficult for you to accept help?
No, I think that I'm fine with, if help is offered, I'm fine with accepting it.
How convincing are you?
Hmm. Good question. I would say I can be pretty convincing why I want to be, why I feel like I need to be for things I feel is important. Yeah, because I think I will try to think about what's the best way to get to that person, depending on what I know about them, what feels important for them. And I think I can, that's the way and if the first time doesn't go well, I will try to come back to it if it feels very important. And but if it's not something I don't care too much about it, I'm fine with whatever. I guess depending on how important I feel and how much effort I put into it.
What are you likely to do when someone tells you no?
I guess depending on the request or the context, if it is more about their decision, I think for most part, I'm fine. If it's more like about their decision, their behavior, whatever. But if it is more about me, like they want me to do something and I don't want to do, or they want me to, yeah, if it's more about my needs, and I think again, depending on how important it is for me, if it is more important, I probably will get more into like talking through it. I try to convince that person, and try to change it to a yes. If it's something it's not so important, I think I'm fine either way. Yeah.
How do you handle negative feedback or criticism?
That's something I find is interesting. I think my first reaction is to get upset about it, take it very personally, first reaction, more internal reaction, but I tend to be that's first reaction. And but then after that, depending on who the person is, my relationship with that person, how much I trust that person, and also how the feedback delivered, I think I will tend to take some time to reflect on feedback to see what I can take from that, and then try to incorporate that in some way that feels right for me. But if somebody I don't like, and somebody I feel like I don't trust that person, and feel like that person have their own agenda, and feedback is part of their agenda, and I was okay, whatever. I tend to brush it off.
That's all the questions. I'm going to take a moment to see, to try to find some patterns, and I'm going to make some guesses. This is just my best guess. Obviously, we're just meeting you for the first time, so help me to correct me or add to it.
Yeah.
It seems like you are really good at so the overdevelopment. You're really good at reflecting on things, figuring things out, figuring out why, what caused what, even with emotions. So very good reflector.
Right. Yeah, that sounds right.
And being such a good reflector, thinker, you are also really good at like almost differentiating. This is important, this is not, this is bothering me, or this is going to be helpful, this is not. So you are also very good at kind of with boundaries, what would be effective, what I want to pursue, or what I'm going to just let go.
Yeah, I think that's something I'm definitely developing. I just part of my past experience, my past work experience hasn't been very healthy, so that's something I have to do a lot of work around that, which is probably, I think one of the unintended benefit is I did a lot of practice in doing that, and I think that's beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Good. At the same time, you are also, it sounds like you're, when things are really important to you and relationships are really important to you, you are also pretty good at showing I'm mad, I'm not happy, this is not right.
Yeah, I will say I'm good at it showing. I don't know whether the way I show it is always productive or helpful, but that's a different story. Yeah. I think I would say my emotional control is probably at the best, probably not at the best in those times, but
Expressing anger and the very raw feelings.
I would say that's true. That's true.
With people you are closest or trust, you do trust and feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. And it also sounds like you are very good at taking care of things on your own, not asking for help, figure it out in your own mind, figuring out what you can offer, exchange to get your needs met, being self-sufficient, independent.
Yeah.
And taking care of your emotional needs too.
For most part, yeah.
As we call it, or we will get to if we do get to the end, the arrows, self-regulation, regulate yourself. You are also pretty good at observing the situation or other people's needs, reading, like who is taking lead, what is the situation or the group, are things going. You are pretty observant.
Yeah, I think that's true.
You are good at observing what other people needs, where the situation goes, but putting your own needs and so you don't jump into, you're not like the savior, you are jumping in what you want. You're aware of your needs, but you're really good at wait and see. Not expressing and demanding your needs and your wants first, putting that second.
That's true. Yeah.
And pretty good at going with flow.
Yeah, I would say that's, for most part, yeah.
And as you just showed me, you're also pretty good at being critical or good at improving yourself. If only you knew what is a better way. Learning, growth.
Yeah, that feels important to me. Yeah, I do think learning growth, and that's part of I do value that a lot, and I do think that's hopefully something I live by, I guess.
I'm also wondering, sometimes this this part of you might get pretty critical.
Sometimes it can be, yes. I think I'm getting a lot better with that now, compared to a couple years ago. But yeah, I would say there's a part of me can be pretty critical, and then I think that part can get a lot louder when I'm under stress. When the more stress I'm under, the more that part will show up. Yeah.
And I'm also wondering if that part or same part or not push you to persevere through challenges, through difficult times. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, that's a good question. Sorry, my cat is sorry for interrupting, but that's one of my cat's favorite spot. Her name is Coco. She loves to sit on the top of the chair.
Coco.
That's actually interesting. I haven't thought of that, but I mean, I definitely was stuck in situation that I didn't want to be, but I think some of that was more situational factors. But I do think, yeah, I think that sometimes I may continue a relationship that's longer than I probably should have, whether it's friendship or more romantic relationship. Partly because this sort of trying to figure it out, is this the right thing for me to leave or to end, or is this self-reflection sometimes can take longer than you need to be. And I think sometimes it relates to difficulty saying no when we got, when I'm very close to somebody. So I think that I definitely have had times that I postponing a difficult conversations that needs to happen because for longer than it needs to be. I don't know if that's what you mean, but that's what you're getting at or not. But I think that's what.
That's the conversation is. Sounds like you are good at sticking around or enduring some difficult or uncomfortable for a while.
I think that looking back, I do think sometimes try to figure it out whether it I think the self-reflection, try to figure out what I want, and sometimes that process can lead to stick around maybe longer.
Okay. Yeah. Well, now I'm going to flip what I see as the underdeveloped. Again, these are the different, just two sides of the same coin. I wonder if it's difficult for you to trust other people are there for you.
Well, that's such a great point. Yeah. Wow. I think a part of me do feel that it's not as to trust people, or I don't think it's more. I think it's less about people have bad intention. I think most people I encounter do have good intention. I mean, with a few exceptions, I don't feel like they have agenda of their own or manipulation. But I think a part of me do have the question whether I can lean on them when I need to, or how long I can lean on them, how much I can lean on them. I think that's a part. Yeah, I think that's the part I don't I don't know if I can trust.
If
Um,
help is actually available and help is sustainable. Where,
yeah.
mhm.
Whether there's any, whether there's any string attached to that or not, or yeah.
Mm, yeah. And I also wonder if it's difficult for you to access some vulnerable feelings and express them, besides anger, getting angry and upset.
I think on that part it's easier for me to I think it's getting easier for me to admit that to myself. And but I thinking about it, I do think I'm more selective who I share with about feeling of sadness, loneliness, and feeling hurt,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things. And yeah, and also with the anger thing, I think it probably it's I just had a really bad working environment for the past couple of years, and that was something that before I get out from the previous job, and I think a lot of the anger, frustration sort of really started from there and stemmed from there. And yeah, I think that I think which also is a part of that's part of the and also I think that's a part of the reason I was more selective. I've been more selective with certain people into what do I share when it comes to emotional experience.
I see. Yeah. Um, you learned, in a way, your answer strengthened or developed after difficult experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of them stem from my family background, and some of them stem from more like some like a race more like a later experience.
Yeah. I'm noticing the time, so I'm going to maybe just stop here, if that's okay,
Sure,
for the
yeah.
underdeveloped part. Um, um, Overall, very self-sufficient, good at um, self-reflection, growth, um, tolerate difficult, uncomfortable experiences on your own, and difficult to trust the help and the support is there and it's going to last, and difficult to be feel like to express the vulnerable feelings, especially with the people you not necessarily and feel that you can trust.
Yeah.
Mhm. Um, I'm so I'm going to leave for you to practice because of the time to practice the answer with each other for the first assignment.
Okay.
This is how we roll. We have some set agenda or structure, and it's not set in stone. Will depend on what we need. So it's 12:40 for me. We have maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes. Um, well, or if one of you or Yiheng would like to interview me.
Sure. So the first information we want to get is regarding your strength and what you do under stress. And this information will help us in presentation phase, preparation phase for you. And we will see what you're really good at doing, and also what is less developed for you. And this information will be useful as we continue the EMDR treatment process. And as you answer the following questions, there is no need to read into them too much. Whatever comes to mind first will be fine. So what are you most proud of?
I'm proud of my continued growth, personally and professionally, as a person, as a professional.
Great. And what is difficult for you to do?
To feel it's good enough. I'm good enough, and take breaks and play.
What do you do when you're under stress?
I do more, work harder.
Okay. How do you handle extreme pressure?
I try to buckle down, get things organized, and keep going. Squeeze more productivity out of myself.
How are you with deadline?
Not so great. Getting better. Yeah. Procrastination used to be a struggle. But yeah, much better recent years.
Great. How do you get your way?
I work to earn it or to get it myself.
Is it easy? Sorry.
Or sometimes demand when I feel like I have earned my due.
Is it easy for you to say no?
When I'm more relaxed and balanced, that's not hard. But when the more I'm stressed, the harder.
Do you cry easily?
Yes. Cry over books, TV, yeah, anything.
What do you do when you're upset?
I guess I get louder, get tense, get more serious, less playful.
Do you cry in front of others?
Yeah.
Would you call yourself a rule follower?
Not exactly.
How do you deal with conflict?
I don't shy away from them. I usually confront it, try to resolve it if possible.
in an emergency situation, what are you likely to do?
I'm likely to be the one jump up and say, we have to do this. We'll do this. I'll be
Is it?
stay calm and be just handle it.
Mhm. Yeah. Is it easy for you to ask for help?
I guess it's not hard, but it's almost like it's hard for me to recognize I need help.
Mm.
So, and oftentimes I go without asking.
Okay. Is it difficult for you to accept help?
Mm, depends on times when I'm not realizing I need help. I could, no, I don't. I don't need help. But if I realize I do need help, I'm okay with accepting and welcome, appreciating the help.
How convincing are you?
I think I am pretty convincing.
What are you likely to do when someone tells you no?
Like an immediate reaction would be, okay, this is not nice.
Mhm.
And if it's something I do really need, I would try to convince them or figure out why.
How do you handle negative feedback or criticism?
It used to be much harder, feeling it's a personal, um, I would take it personal and feel defensive. And now, more and more, take the useful information and incorporate the useful in less feeling like that's a judgment um, on my on me. If it's useful, it's good. Opportunities to improve,
Mhm.
but it used to be hard.
Okay. So I'm gonna go through those answers and just trying to guess what is the thing that you're really good at and what is something you probably would do under stress. So it sounds like you're really good at um, really doing the thing like hard work and make things down. And just the most important resource for you is just do the things and keep doing. Hard to take a break.
Yeah, right, spot on. I definitely fit the doer profile.
And it's probably hard for you to notice that you need a break. You need other people's support when you're really close to the stress thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I can push myself pretty hard, and Um, and yeah, be very driven, and even get into kind of this has to be this way. The more I'm not getting help, support, or people don't really understand where I'm going, the more I'm determined I have to be the one.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty, and I feel like you're really growing, maybe these several years, because I can hear from you that previously it's like that, and now it's much better. And that's also important, like you're really trying to focus on the personal growth or development, your even career growth. It's both of them are really something you're good at. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like what you said, you're really good at to make like to get your way, usually trying to convince others, even though sometimes maybe they're not really understand you or really say yes to you, but you were really trying to convince them and make sure that they understand you, give you thing that you want. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think is underdeveloped? What is difficult for me to do?
I think recognize that you need help and you need support or you need break, or other than doing things, maybe just be present, not always keep going.
Yeah. To slow down,
Mhm.
to take care of my needs.
Yeah.
It's not that I can go without fuel or without any. It's I can push myself hard and cut off from even refueling myself physically
Mhm.
or emotionally, allowing myself to feel to take care of my needs and receive the support from others. Okay, it's 55. Like I said, the assignment for this month is for you. Yiheng and Jingjing, you can still practice the same with each other and go over the answer, not just guess what overdeveloped, underdeveloped, but also make some predictions of, I guess, I wonder if the answer might show up when you are close to pain. We're getting into reprocessing. At the same time, have some self-reflection. This is for yourself. What is my answer, or how my answer might show up in the certification consultation process? It's gonna get hard. You already have a full life, lots of responsibilities, commitment, technology challenges, deadlines, early waking up early. So all these, this is a part for you to reflect how my answer might show up in the whole consultation process. You make prediction about your partner, what might happen, what might it look like when they are getting close to pain. And with your partner, go through the answer plus the arrows. The arrows is another tool to deepen this conversation about the answer.
So I'm just looking for the, make sure I got a piece of the
It looks like this on your worksheets.
oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's
Got it.
in your worksheets and in the menu too. Any questions before we close?
Any comments from my previous practice just right now?
You did pretty well. You got well, first of all, you followed the questions without starting conversations with the client, which is very important. This is meant to be allowing the client to be reflecting on each of the questions. As soon as we start validating or, yeah, I'm the same or whatever, we kind of interrupt the flow of the client's introspective process. But I'll save more maybe when we get the videos back for next meeting. So we'll spend quite this meeting and next meeting more about phase 1, 2.
This is not really a question, but it is more like a sort of response or reflection. I really appreciate is your kind of did the answer with you. And it's again, you impressed me how much EMDR can get as some core issues. And I mean, I always know the trusting help will be there. I think that's something I aware. But the part about different access to different emotions, that's actually the first time I thought of that. When you brought up, and I do now thinking a little more about it, I do find myself I think it take a little bit more time for me to access some other feelings that's more vulnerable, like hurt and sadness, those kind of things, that anger. And yeah, so I just want to say that it is pretty important. Yeah.
Yeah. Last but not least, encourage you to start reviewing many layers of EMDR and reading the book. At some point, I will ask you, where are you on which chapter are you on the book?
Okay.
All right, that's all for today. Nice meeting you both and starting our group. I'll see you in a month.
Sounds great.
Take care.
Well, very nice meeting both of you. Looking forward. And I wonder, Yuhan, do you want to stay on for? Maybe we can touch base about for us to schedule a time for practice. Would that be helpful?
To end the meeting. Do you want me to make you the host, Jingqing?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'll make you the host. I'll stop recording.